What's up guys, what's up cycling fanatics? We are on board at the Merida Gravel Series 2024. This was my last race before the World Championships in Belgium. This is part of the Dutch gravel competition. In this lap we're gonna see dirt and gravel strips, we're gonna see some wet spots, we have a few hundred meters of tarmac. I got attacked by like flying water bottles and a bunch of fit pro riders. We've got bumpy stretches through these core fields, dodging puddles, almost hitting a pole, one slippery zigzag turn before a long, super fast straight line through the start finish. The total of this lap was 8.7 kilometers, which is about 6 miles, and with 13 laps that totals to 112 kilometers, which was quite short because the World Championship, guys, was 180 kilometers. This race was 100% flat. It was super fast. It's like an off-road criterium. Looking at the field, it was all stretched out, full gas accelerations out of each turn. This was a hard race, so let's break it down. So I started about halfway the field. They do a call-up based on the ranking of the previous races, and I did race the previous race, ending up in a 6th spot, so I should actually be way up there in the start box, but I was doing my warm-up, I got late, so I was still halfway up the peloton. So the first thing I had to do was kind of move up and see how far I could get to the front before anything big would happen. The goals of this race, very important guys. This was like my B race. It was not the main event of my year. I wanted to test my bike setup for the World Championship. Last year I totally fucked this up because I went to the European Championship in Belgium with a brand new bike. I built up my Olio G21 gravel bike a week before that race, and I didn't really test it properly, and then my saddle slid down like 30 minutes into the race. I had to stop, fix it, and that totally took out my chances in that race. So I really want to have a proper test for this bike and for my complete setup, because I changed my tires. I went with the Vittoria Mescal tires versus the slicks. Everyone nowadays is riding slicks because they look at the pro riders, they want to do the same, they think it's the fastest tire they can have, so they all go on slicks. But in these turns you will be faster with some grippy tires, and it had been raining quite a lot in the weeks before this race, so I wanted to test out these new tires that I had. And the only way to do that is during a race. It's not the same when you do some practice runs by yourself. You want to test it full gas in a race setting. And then another goal I would have is to get like a final good training impulse for the World Championships, which was 2 weeks after this race. So I wanted to make it a hard race, but not too crazy, so I wouldn't be able to recover from it and be fresh at the World. So I want to see how my fitness is. This race was 112 kilometers versus 180k in the Worlds, so that would be about 2 hours longer than whatever I would be doing today. So let's see how that goes. I put some data on the screen. You can see the racetrack at the top. It could have been a criterium. There's a lot of corners. I really enjoy racing like this. I think off-road criteriums could actually be a pretty popular thing. This race was super intense. In the first hour, to give you an idea, I did 350 watts normalized power. The total of the race, which was 3 hours, was 340 watts normalized. So it was a very intense race. But with 3 hours, it was way shorter than the World Championship. So I wanted to have a feel on how it would be again to go so hard for such a long time. 2 weeks before this race, I did the Gran Fondo World Championships. I posted that video a couple weeks ago. If you want to have a look at that. That race was super easy compared to what you see today. I was doing like 280 watts maybe in the first 2-3 hours. Today it was full gas out of every turn, full gas acceleration. And the riders that are on this race, a lot of guys are elite, some are first level professional riders. So I've got like continental team riders on this race today, and it's all mixed up. So that's really fun to be mixed up with the different levels together. Just how, you know, the gravel racing started 3 years ago, where the elite and the pros and the amateurs were all together, and now they're all separating everything because it gets bigger and, you know, more professional and everything. But it's actually pretty awesome to ride with really, really fit dudes. So I managed my way pretty far up to the front. And you can see I'm going hard, man. 300, 400, 500 watts on these stretches to maintain the speed that these guys are going. And from the beginning, there's attacks. My idea for this race was not to be in the front at all. I wanted to make it a hard race. I wanted to test my setup, but I didn't want to completely destroy myself because sometimes with work, family and everything, I just don't get to recover as quick and as good as I used to. So I can't risk completely destroying myself 2 weeks before the World Championship. So I just wanted to have a very good training impulse. So my idea was actually just to stay sort of in the wheels, in the peloton, play around, ride for a little bit from the front, a little bit through the back, to move through the back a bit, but not to attack. Definitely. I definitely didn't think I would have the legs. Whoa, just missed that, almost hit that pole right there. I didn't think I would have the legs to actually attack and to be in a breakaway and all this stuff. So till now I was just in the group, which was already hard enough. You see my heart rate, 170 beats per minute. Like I said, first hour was already very high power. So for me, I was like, wow, this is tough enough just how it is. Approaching the final straight, there was like one zigzag turn here, very slippery. It was a bit of loose gravel, and then this was all straight, a long straight line, as you can see in the top left, through start finish. We had a little bit of wind from the left, so everyone is trying to hug the right side of the road here, and there was a bunch of potholes also in this road, so you have to be careful and have to really hold your bars very, very strong, because you might have just hit a freaking big hole that can bump you off your bike easily. And we're doing 43 kilometers an hour on the gravel, so it's pretty fast actually. Through the barriers here, start finish, 13 laps. We've got 12 laps to go right now. And this is where they did a feed zone. A lot of these guys had, you know, support so they could grab some bottles from the sidelines. I decided to start with 2 big 750ml bottles full with Martin, so I had like 250 grams of carbs or something in that, and then 1 small bottle in my jersey pocket and a few gels. That would definitely be enough for the 3 hours of racing. So that was a plus for this being a shorter race. I didn't have to rely on people giving me stuff because I went here by myself. Super fast tailwind section here, 47k an hour on the gravel. And gravel is interpretable in very many different ways. I see a lot of commentary online about what's, you know, gravel and what's not gravel, and about the World Championships not being a gravel worthy track or course. Guys think gravel is only stones and freaking rough rocks everywhere, but that's not how gravel is in the Netherlands. That's not how gravel was in Belgium on the Worlds. It's different for every country. So let me know what you think is gravel. You know, let me know in the comments, but don't judge or don't tell other people that they're crazy or that this is not a gravel event, because this is gravel racing in the Netherlands, guys. It's freaking flat, it's fucking fast, and it's on sand, it's on dirt, it's on mud, it's on grass. That's what gravel is. In my opinion, gravel is not riding on the road wherever you are. That's kind of the gravel racing. No, we don't have rocks. There's one section actually in this racetrack where there was a little bit of more like loose stones, loose rocks. You can call this gravel if you want, but this is sand, yes, or dirt. But don't be so picky when you were not there. We're gonna see the same thing in the World Championship video that's coming up after this. I'm gonna show you how rough and how tough it actually was, and still people say it's not gravel worthy and it was so much tarmac, because that's what you see on TV. But if you're there, if you raced it, you will know different. All right, we're about 24k in the race, so we're in the 3rd lap. I didn't see everything that happened because I wasn't at the front, but right now there are a few guys up the road. There was a breakaway which formed pretty quickly in the first 2 laps already. So sometimes it's the same as in a criterium. It goes super fast, a breakaway is established, and then either these guys are so strong or they have teammates that kind of work together with them and can maybe slow the peloton down a little bit. But these guys were chasing hard, so I was there at the front. By the way, this is the segment that I was talking about, which has a bit more rocky surface. So this is definitely gravel in my opinion. The guy here in front is pushing hard. I was just following wheels. At this moment, I figured, hey, I actually feel pretty good. And maybe I want to actually do a little bit more in this race. Maybe play a bit more in the front of the peloton, or see if I can go with a few riders. As long as I don't completely blow myself up, that's fine. So I was in the front, pushing hard. And after taking a pull, the same guy is overtaking me. So other riders weren't really taking pulls. And then I go through this branch that's on the ground, and it gets stuck into my chainring. So I try to pull it out, and there was a lot more. So it was all in my chainring, in my chain. It's kind of risky if you think, oh fuck it, I'm just gonna keep on going. You may break your derailleur or your chain or your derailleur hanger or whatever. So sometimes it's important to get stuff out. Right now it's still not out. So I still have to find a moment where I can put my hand down again and get some of these sticks out. But this segment was actually very bumpy. We're going through cornfields. You don't really see... What? I, again, almost hit that pole. Going around that puddle, and then there was a pole with a cushion around it. Very close call. But this was very bumpy. And the footage actually looks super stable. You can't really see how bumpy it is. But it is very bumpy. And these shots are taken with my Insta360 X4. I introduced this camera in the Gran Fondo World Championship video, my previous race video. The Insta360 is my camera sponsor. So before this race, I actually received their new integrated handlebar mount, which fits perfectly on my Yolio handlebars. And the mount has a place for your head unit, and it has a regular action cam attachment at the bottom. And it has a mount for the X4, the 360 camera, with a thumb screw. So you can attach it super easy in the front of your handlebar, which makes you able to shoot these crazy perspectives. So it's almost like a guy is riding in front of me. And that's actually pretty cool. It is a lot of work to edit this footage, but I do think it's pretty awesome. One disclaimer I want to give you guys, although I used it in this gravel race, you need to read the small letters on the website, because actually it's not approved for bumpy roads or off-road use. So although this mount itself is super sturdy, the camera is also quite heavy with the big lenses at the top. So you can't really see it in the footage, but the camera is vibrating and bumping around pretty hard, so it puts a lot of strain on this thumb screw. Insta360 is having their holiday sale right now, up to 47% off, so go check out the link in my description and get your own Insta360 camera. So within the first hour, I actually lost one of my big bottles. I had two big bottles in my bike. One flew out in one of these bumpy segments. So now I had a problem because I didn't have enough fluid, and I probably didn't have enough carbs either. So that was pretty shit. I thought I had figured it out, and then you lose a bottle. And if you lose 1 out of 3 bottles, that's a big thing. So I knew that my bottle cage was not going to work for the Worlds. So I changed that after this race actually. And that's why I did this race, to figure out these things. So my bottle cage, I had 2 different bottle cages on it. And one of them, it wasn't holding the bottle tight enough to go over these bumps. And so I was actually happy that it happened on this race. So one of my fellow racers, he saw me drop my bottle, and he was so kind to offer grabbing one from his support. So going through the feed zone, he grabs a bottle, but he misses it. So the bottle goes flying, hits me, bang, almost in my face. But we could try again the next lap. Anyway, I was happy that he was offering to give me a bottle, so that was pretty cool. One lap later, we're coming through the feed zone again, full gas. The guy, Jasper, his name is also Jasper, he was riding in front of me, so I had to overtake a few guys. I go to the front to see him, and yes, there he is. He grabs me a bottle. Thanks, dude, that was awesome. This definitely helped me, you know, to finish this race, otherwise I would have been completely messed up. We were going fast. The field is stretching out. It's like a criterium on a tight course. Never it was a peloton. It was always a long stretch of riders. Maybe, you know, 2 by 2, but that's it. So it was tough. Right here the field started slowing down a bit. This usually happens when either everybody gets tired, and then that's the time when you want to actually attack. Because when you feel tired, usually the other guys are also tired. That's when you want to go, because then guys will just don't have the energy or the mental strength to keep following you, because it hurts, man. When you're dying on the bike and somebody attacks, you don't feel like, oh, I'm just gonna follow his wheel. You're like, can this just please stop right now? And another situation where the field slows down is when there's a breakaway and some guys are, you know, slowing it down on purpose, and they don't want to rotate, or they mess up rotation, or the whole peloton is like, okay, the breakaway's gone. Our chances of winning or getting a podium are now gone, so we don't feel like riding again. So there's 3 guys up the road, 2 of the same team. All 3 these guys are Continental pros. So what's gonna happen now? I'm at the front. It seems like I'm doing a long pull, but I'm not pushing that hard. I'm looking back, like, where is everyone? And it's stretched out. So there's not a lot of riders that want to keep overtaking me. So there's not a lot of riders that want to do pulls. So it's kind of like a sign that either the peloton is tired or not motivated to keep going really, really hard. But usually there's other guys that are willing to pull and go hard. So here we go, speed is back up and we're going full gas. And I felt really good. I felt better than I expected. And I figured, okay, I'm just gonna go hard this race and see where it ends. You can see behind me, man, it's stretching up with big gaps. So that's a good thing. The elastic band is about to snap. All these guys know it, so they're all going hard. And we can just see where this will go. If there would be guys that are trying to bridge the gap towards the breakaway, maybe I can go with them. I would not be able to bridge that gap by myself, for sure. But maybe when I sit on the wheel of somebody else, or we have a group of 5 or whatever, and we start rotating, we can either form a second group or, you know, bridge the gap towards the breakaway. So I was in the front, rotating and going hard. And you can see behind me, man, it's stretching up with big gaps. So that's a good thing. The elastic band is about to snap. All these guys know it, so they're all going hard. And we can just see where this will go. So we are with about 5-6 riders. Looking behind me, we have a proper gap. So that's good. So we are now in chase mode, trying to break away from the peloton again. We form a second group, and it's all out to get a breakaway established. You need to get a gap. That's important. And then one guy, the guy in blue, is overtaking. He's setting good pace, but not a lot of riders are in his wheel. Bakker Racing is in the green. He's following, but then no one. So I jump on his wheel, and it seems like the energy of these guys is also low. Coming to start finish, it's ups and downs, man. Here it's a bit of a lull. Not everyone is pushing as hard anymore. So either commit and go full gas and keep going, or stop and let the peloton, you know, catch back up, recover and try again. But I see some other guys who are still going hard. And then here, this guy, he goes full gas to the front. That's Adne Koster, and I know him because I've been racing him for a few of these mountain bike marathons. He's doing good business in the UCI Gravel Series as well with the Pro Elite. And he's a strong guy, usually ending up on the box, you know, winning a lot of these long races as well. So he's very strong. He goes to the front. So now I'm like, okay, let's sharpen up the knife. Let's see where we're going with this. Full gas through start finish. At the end of the start finish segment, Adne attacks. Like I was expecting, we've got the data back on the screen so you can see how hard I was pushing to catch back on with him. So he attacks. I figured I need to get in his wheel. I had to work freaking hard for it. 400 watts to get, you know, this speed, 45k an hour. There's one guy on my wheel, Werner, a very big guy, and that's nice because when we start rotating, I can be in his draft a little bit. Because Adne, he was a very small dude. You'll see it later because we're gonna catch up with him. Here we are overtaking the guys that are dropped out. So going pretty fast through these corners. Matches all exactly to get through this corner, and I accelerate full gas again because I knew I had to get back on Adne's wheel. I'm actually able to make up quite a bit of distance each and every turn, so that was nice. Part of it may also be my tire choice, so I could go faster through these corners. I think he was on some kind of slicks, and it seemed like he may had a little bit more trouble to go through these corners. And then Werner, he's overtaking me. He's taking a good pull. I'm on his wheel. Like I said, nice and big dude to stay behind so I can get a little bit of draft. He managed to close the gap toward Adne, so that's good. So now we are with the three of us. As we close it up, I immediately go to the front just to keep it rotating because we had to go really fast to get away from these other riders. The three of us are now chasing and trying to close the gap towards the breakaway. Difficult thing was that me and Werner, we're very big dudes. Adne is a very small guy. So when he was behind us, he was full in the draft. But when we were behind him, we didn't have that much draft at all. He was taking long pulls, like he was not childish at all. He probably knew that he was the fastest or the strongest, I don't know, but he just did mega pulls, so that was awesome. I was in his wheel, still having to push a lot, but then me and Werner, we kind of communicated with each other actually to sort of rotate in between positions. So after a lap or two, me and him switched up so that I can be behind him instead of behind Adne to have a bit more of a draft, and then later we switch back, because otherwise for us it would be just so freaking hard. As you can see here, we're pushing. I'm still doing 350 watts to be in his wheel, and then when I take a pull, I'm doing 450 or 400. Together we could work pretty well, and we were rotating in a nice way. Slippery zigzag again through start finish. It was a difficult corner because it was loose gravel. Trying to get my carbs in, so I did get one bottle. It had a bit of carbs and I had some spare gels, so I managed to still have enough nutrition throughout this race. Through start finish, 7 laps to go. Here I'm leaving a gap on purpose. Adne, he is freaking full gas every time, man. And then I just shout at Werner to go in, and I could be behind him. Like I explained before, we just rotate a little bit, so I would have like one lap where I would be behind him, have a little bit of more draft, and then the next lap or two we would switch back. We are now halfway in this race. I did not have a sight on the guys in the breakaway. This is also 3 riders who are freaking strong, so not sure if we're ever gonna catch them. So we just kept on trucking. I had a hard time, man. It was getting pretty tough to even stay with these guys. I mean, I was taking short pulls. We're all doing our job, but even staying in the draft, it was pretty hard. And then a new guy shows up. He actually came from the front, so we overtook him. And I didn't know if he was a dropped rider. But it turned out he was one of the 3 guys out of the breakaway. So he was with 2 other guys of the same team, and they kind of professionally dropped him out of that breakaway. If you're 2 against 1, there's some tricks you can pull to get somebody to drop out, of course. So he dropped out and he started riding with us. For me, it took a while until I understood this situation. So at first I was like, who's this guy? Why is he starting to rotate with us? But then I kind of understood, and both he and Adne were not taking the pulls that they were before. So kind of know what's coming up then. We had 3 laps to go maybe, so it was time to start looking at the finish. And until now, these guys were kind of my buddies, You're riding with them, trying to close a gap, trying to get to the finish before, in front of the peloton at least, to get a good position in this race. Obviously they're competitors, but now you're thinking, okay, how can I maybe take advantage of the situation? What would be the best way for me to get the best possible position? Now, usually, even though I go hard, I have a little bit of a jump towards the line. So if it would be a sprint, sometimes I can pull out a little bit. But these guys were attacking, man. Full gas, at this point I was like, hey, these guys are working together, man. They're attacking together against us. And if that's true or not, I don't know, and it doesn't matter. They were in front of me, and I was trying to chase it back. Then Werner, he was behind me. He was getting a gap on me. So we were just like two guys trying to chase back on these dudes. Going through corners again, like I said, these tires, man. I have a lot of grip, so I have more corner speed than these other two guys. I really noticed this, and through these corners I could, you know, catch back up, and I got back on their wheel, which was good. And now I figured, okay, take advantage of the situation, do whatever I can. So I try to stay with these two guys, and then maybe drop number 4 here behind me. He was having a little bit of a gap, so I figured if I stay with them, and they go fast enough, he would never be able to catch back up. But in the end he did, which was actually a pretty good job of him. So, you know, now the cohesion of the group is definitely gone. We're not friends anymore, which is pretty obvious. I'm, you know, trying to skip a pool when I can, but so were the other guys. And I think they were, you know, cooking up a little plan to attack again. So I didn't have the legs to attack myself. So I was just keeping up the pace. And maybe I could just follow when a guy was attacking, if I was lucky. So right here, Adna attacks again. I missed the moment he attacked because I stopped the camera throughout this race the whole time. Otherwise, I don't have enough battery to film the whole thing. But he's out there in front of us. This was one of the hardest spots of the race because there was a full crosswind. The wind wasn't crazy strong this day, but you will notice it on these speeds. And there was a crosswind. He attacked, and we didn't get back to him. Werner and I started pulling, but Max, man, he was not. He was skipping. You see him behind me over there, and he was just getting in the wheel of Werner. And then when I went off the front, again, he just stayed in the back. So I knew what he was doing, you know, sitting out back there to do some slingshot move and then attack us. We have 2 laps to go, so yeah, we're getting close to the finish, and he probably did not want to finish together with us. He wanted to be solo. So I'm looking back. Max, he's not rotating, man. He's just staying back there. And then at the end of the straightaway, keep looking back. And there he goes, full gas. Look at my face, man. I was dying, really tired. So I did not have the legs to match this acceleration. And you can see it's quick. He gets meters and meters really fast. Very fast through this corner, through loose sand there, almost skidded out. And then I'm standing on the pedals, trying to, whatever, I don't know, try to catch back on. Looking back, Werner is gone. He's got a big gap with me. So now it's 3 guys, all separately. It's 2 laps, I think, or 1 lap to go. So from here I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do full gas, and maybe Werner is not gonna catch up. But he did, and now he's actually riding in front of me. I don't remember exactly what happened there, but roles are reversed. I was freaking tired. Look at my face, man. I was really finished in this race, trying to catch back up on Werner, and that actually happened. Approaching the final straight, we've got 2 riders up the road, then Adna, then Max, and then me and Werner. We're together again. He's in my wheel. I accelerate out of this corner pretty hard. We've got a few hundred meters towards the finish. I just wanted to see if he would stay in my wheel or not, because if he wouldn't, then I knew he was completely dead. If he would, then I was just gonna let him ride in the front and then maybe just do 1 more jump towards the finish. So yep, he was still there. I'm getting in his wheel, and then it's the waiting game through this zigzag left and right, and then the last few hundred meters toward the finish. We're riding for 5th and 6th position, not for the podium, but still, man, I was pretty happy with how this was going, and every opportunity is an opportunity to learn. So this also, again, even though I was freaking tired, I knew if I would be at the World Championships, I was going to be even more tired, if not. And then still I wanted to try to see if I could sprint. So that's what I was going to do in this race, because it was one big test anyway. So on his wheel, but not too close. This is a sprinter's gap, guys. If you want to sprint out of somebody's wheel, don't be super close because then you cannot accelerate. So you want to leave a gap, actually, few meters. We have a little bit of headwind, and then when you start to go, you accelerate into his wheel, into his slipstream, then you move to the side, full gas. I see him already nodding his head, so he wasn't gonna chase me. I took it to the line. Here's the finish. 3 hours at 340 watts, normalized 36.7 kilometers an hour. That's about 23 miles per hour, so that's pretty fast for a gravel race. I got the 5th spot against all semi-pro elite riders in front of me and right behind me. So that was pretty cool. I felt happy about the bike and my tire setup. The grip difference was definitely noticeable. So all I would change was gonna be that bottle cage. And then I hope that I would be able to hang on for 180 kilometers during the World Championship. Guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'm gonna see you in the World Championships gravel video coming up soon. See ya!